as a bookworm, isn't book shopping just one of the best things ever? Hello, lovely bookworms. Kim here, and welcome on back to Bookworm Buzz. Now, as I said, book shopping is one of the best things to do. I can't help myself when it comes to buying books. So yes, you will see lots of haul videos on this channel, but I also know that you guys love seeing haul videos. As a YouTube watcher, I am someone who will often click on videos that are about book hauls because I love seeing what books people have bought. So without further ado, today's video is going to be yet another haul video. It is not massive, it is not huge. I have 6 books to share with you guys today. They are all thrillers. So this latest haul of mine is for pretty much only thriller books. As many of you know, I have been buying fantasy books and series lately like a crazy person, but I am finding that I am missing my thrillers. And so I have still been reading thrillers, and I am indeed still buying thrillers. So on that note, my friends, let's have a look at what thrillers I have recently hauled. The first book that I bought, my friends, is this one. This is called Killer Potential by Hannah Deach. This book is unfortunately not getting amazing reviews on Goodreads. I think it's getting about a 3.44 on Goodreads. I stand corrected, it might be slightly higher than that, but when I last looked, I did note that it wasn't getting specifically great reviews. Having said that, when I heard about this one and when I read up on it and what it was about, I really thought it sounded fascinating. And so I decided to pick myself up a second-hand copy. Now, basically, in this story, what I know is that we are following 2 very unlikely fugitives. There is a woman, I think she is a maid who works for wealthy families, and she arrives at work one day to find the family that she works for, or at least I don't think there are any kids involved, but the 2 parents murdered, and there is a woman also tied up in the apartment. So, I mean, more than that, I don't really know. I believe that the main protagonist in the story unties this woman. She frees her from her shackles, for lack of a better word, and the 2 of them go on the run together because they think that they now look like major suspects in the murder of this wealthy couple. Like I say, not getting amazing reviews, but I'm still excited to read it, and obviously I'm glad that I picked it up. And then the next book to share with you guys is one that I think straddles a few genres. Yes, it is a thriller. It has thriller aspects, but it also is listed as a horror and a vampire story, and that is this one. This is The Gathering by C.J. Tudor. Now, this is an author that I have loved. I have read many books by this author, and I've always thoroughly enjoyed them, and so I was really keen to pick this book up. Now, again, I'm not going to read to you from the blurb. What I know about this one is that it does go down the supernatural / vampire route. There is a detective in the story. She is investigating the murder of a young boy. He is found with his throat ripped out. Charming, I know. And with his body having been drained of all its blood. And so it looks like this may be a vampire killing. And apparently this detective involves another specialist who is a specialist in vampires and how to deal with them. And basically the story goes from there. I actually don't want to know too much more than that because I would like to go into this one a little bit blind. I think it sounds fascinating. Obviously, you have to be okay with horrors and you have to be okay with vampires and all those sort of fantastical creatures. But I am totally fine with all of that. And so I can't wait to get to this one. And then next up is a book that I haven't heard too much about, but after hearing a little bit about it, I decided I had to read it. And this is called Madwoman by Chelsea. Is it Beaker? This is a book of the month release. I can't remember. Let me just check. I'm not sure exactly how old this one is. Let's see. Oh, 2024, so not very old at all. So again, this one falls in the thriller, mystery, thriller genre, but apparently it does also have a big contemporary sort of feel to it. It is about a woman who has made a success of her life. She had a very traumatic childhood, and when I say she made a success of herself, I just mean that she managed to, progress with her life, meet a nice man, get married and have children, which based on the traumatic childhood she had had, was not a given. And then things take a little bit of a deep and dark turn at some point in her life. So let me just read you this very small portion. But when she receives a letter, so this is obviously the main character that I've said to you, had this traumatic childhood. So it says, but when she receives a letter from a woman's prison in California, her past comes screeching into the present, entangling her in a dangerous game with memory and the people she thought she had outrun. As the story races between her precarious present day life and her childhood with her mother and father, Clove is forced to finally unravel the defining day of her life. How did she survive that day, and what will it take to end the cycle of violence? Will the truth undo her, or could it ultimately save her? So again, like I say, not one that I've been hearing a ton about. I mean, if any of you have read this one and really enjoyed it, please leave me a comment below and let me know, because it's not one that I hear very much about, but it sounds good. It definitely sounds good. And so I'm happy to be adding this one to my TBR. Then next up is an author that needs no introduction. This book is The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. Now, again, this is an author that I have read from before, and I have in general enjoyed her books. And so I decided to pick up this latest one and to give it a go. This one, I think, was also published last year. I think it was in 2024. And this one is getting sort of fairly good reviews. I think it gets about a 3.8 on Goodreads, which is pretty good. And so I am looking forward to getting to this one. Let me just read you a little bit of what this book is about. So this is what it says. When Ruby McTavish, Callahan Woodward Miller Kenmore dies, how's that for a name? She's not only North Carolina's richest woman, she's also its most notorious. The victim of a famous kidnapping as a child and a widow 4 times over, Ruby ruled the tiny town of Taziskok from Ashby House, her family's estate high in the Blue Ridge Mountains. But in the aftermath of her death, her adopted son Camden wants little to do with the house or the money, and even less to do with the surviving McTavishes. Instead, he rejects his inheritance, settling into a normal life as an English teacher. 10 years later, his uncle's death pulls Cam and Jules back into the family fold at Ashby House. Its views are just as stunning as ever, its rooms just as elegant, but the legacy of Ruby is still inescapable. And then it goes on just to describe a little bit more of the story. But what I wanted to read you is on the back here, it's actually blurbed by Riley Sager, and he says this. The Heiress has it all: murder, secrets, gothic vibes, and one of the most deliciously twisted families ever put to page. I loved it. So, I mean, that is all I need to know. It's a thriller. It talks about having gothic vibes, and I'm all for that. Absolutely love that. And it talks about a deliciously twisted family. And so, again, ticks the box for me. I can do dark, I can do twisted and all messed up. And so this one really sounds like it's going to be an interesting read. And then next up is a book that I am so excited to get to. I mean, now that I'm checking it out again, I actually think I have to add this one to my TBR very soon, because this is Across My Heart by Megan Collins. Love the cover, I must tell you. I love the blues and the pinks on this cover. I mean, I've said to you guys before, I am a sucker for a good cover. And this one, although very plain, I do love the colors, I must say. Look also there on the spine. But anyway, this one I have heard quite a bit about. It's getting sort of average reviews. I think some people have loved it, some people haven't. But I love the premise of the story. So in the story, we are following the lead main character. I think her name is Rosie. She is the recipient of a heart. She obviously requires a heart. She goes through a surgery, and she is the recipient of a life-saving heart transplant. And the heart comes from a woman, and Rosie thinks she knows who this woman is. And things go a little bit dark and twisted from there, because what I understand to be part of the plot is that she then starts to message anonymously the husband of the heart donor. And she is under the impression that now that she has his wife's heart beating inside her, that it's the universe's way of saying that she is supposed to be with this man. And obviously the story goes from there. Now, I think that sounds all sorts of dark and messed up. It sounds very twisted. It sounds very macabre. And to be honest, I'm all here for it. So this is one, like I've said, that I am going to have to push up my TBR list, because it is something that I want to get to sooner rather than later. And then to end off with this video today, my friends, yes, like I said, it was not going to be a very long video. I only hold 6 books here, but I did want to share them with you. But the last book to share with you today is this one that many of you might have heard about, or you might already have read. So this one is called Count My Lives by Sophie Stava. Now, again, middle of the road, some very good reviews, some average reviews, but you know, I'm always happy to try books, because I have also found that some of my favorite thrillers have actually been books that do not get very good reviews and ratings on Goodreads at all. So basically, my friends, this one doesn't have a very long blurb, so I'm just going to read to you a little bit from the blurb. Sloane Carraway is a liar. Harmless lies mostly, to make her self-proclaimed sad little life a bit more interesting. So when Sloane sees a young girl in tears at a park one afternoon, she can't help herself. She tells the girl's very attractive dad that she's a nurse and helps him pull a bee stinger from the child's foot. With this lie and chance encounter, Sloane becomes the nanny for the wealthy and privileged household of Jay and Violet Lockhart. But maybe Sloane isn't the only one lying, and all that's picture perfect harbors a much more dangerous truth. To say anything more is to spoil the most exciting, twisty, and bitingly smart suspense novel to come out in years. Careful what you lie for. So again, another typical thriller. Sounds pretty interesting. It does sound like it will be up my alley. And so, yeah, it's another one that I need to try and get to sometime soon, obviously. And on that note, my friends, that wraps up today's small thriller haul video. As always, if you have read any fantastic thriller novels lately, definitely comment below and let me know. Okay, my friends, on that note, let me sign off and say happy reading, gang. Bye.